Well, we start, if somebody has a prenatal diagnosis, that's where we start. We have relationships with the medical community, with perinatologists, people who are dealing with these high-risk pregnancies who will refer these families to us. So, and the first thing we say to them is congratulations.
Yeah,
they're going to have a beautiful baby, and that baby is going to thrive and grow and succeed, might be at a little bit of a different pace. So what we're basically trying to do is to help those parents with their expectations and kind of prepare them for that. And if we are meeting parents after the child is born, if they have a postnatal diagnosis, we're really just, again, setting them up with resources. What do they need to be doing? They're probably overwhelmed at that point. It'd be much better to have a parent here who'd had a baby with Down syndrome so they could kind of walk you through that process of what it's like to have somebody walk into your hospital room and tell you, your baby has Down syndrome, would you like to put them in an institution?
Yeah.
And that's not something a parent needs to hear when their child is born, because there's so much potential. So we have a program called Parents First Call, and it's us bridging that gap with these parents. So we have volunteer parents who already have a child with Down syndrome who will reach out to those new parents and just kind of build a relationship and a kind of a mentorship of what to expect and what they need to be doing to get the best services they can for their new baby.
I have some friends that have children that are Down syndrome, we have another one of our employees that works with us, and his brother has Down syndrome. And the one thing that you hear more than anything is that these are the happiest humans on the planet.
Yeah, that's not really true. It's not true. I've seen it all, and that is one of the common misconceptions that people say. And while they are very happy individuals, they're individuals.
Yeah, they still have lots of emotion.
They have lots of emotion,
emotion,
lots of personality. We do a lot of work with teens with Down syndrome, and I can tell you the range of emotion is just like a typically developing peer.
Like all teens.
Like all teens. There's drama. They want to be accepted. They want to be liked. They want to have boyfriends, girlfriends. You know, they want to be popular. They want to fit in and belong. And so it's just like they're typically developing peers. Happy all the time is a very common misconception. Heather, who works for us, she has a daughter with Down syndrome, and she'll be the first one to tell you that girl is not happy all the time.
Right. I have daughters, so I know daughters are not happy all the time.
For sure.
I get that.
For sure. But you know, there is something about their hearts that they just endear you to them, because they're kind and they're honest, I think, and that honesty comes through in their just ability to love without barriers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do y'all operate programs monthly, daily? Are you just setting people up with resources? So walk us through, a family comes in maybe with a certain type of need, maybe something that you see more normal than what you typically would see.
Right.
You know, and then a family comes in with a Down syndrome child. What do they need? What do you see more often, so that when the public watches this, maybe there's more people with that issue and they're going, hey, that's what I need. Those are the people I need to go get involved with.
Yeah. I think the most common thing we do is provide just resources and connections to other organizations in our community. So, you know, we don't do it all. We try to provide as much education and resources as we possibly can, but a lot of time it's just plugging those families in where they need to be. The phone calls we get most often is navigating Medicaid. Navigating the medical system, navigating the educational system, making sure their child has an advocate who is in their corner fighting for their educational rights and their educational needs to be met fully and completely. So that's really what we do, and we just have different organizations that we will refer people to kind of help them with those, navigating Medicaid. I could not begin to even try to explain how our system works and how difficult it is for parents to get services for their kids. The therapies that are necessary as far as speech, occupational, physical therapy. Those are all therapies that are necessary and needed for people who have Down syndrome to kind of thrive and grow and try to stay up with those typically developing peers.
So Medicaid may be one of the biggest. So, of course, I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
So if a young family may have a child and then all of a sudden they realize all the medical needs that are necessary,
Right.
and then they come to you and they go, where do I start?
Right.
How do I do this? How do I navigate this?
Right. And we do programs. We do monthly educational programs for parents, and that is consistently one of the topics that we have people come in and talk on. And I have sat through so many trainings and still couldn't tell you what the answer is to that.
Wow.
I know that there are parents on those waiver program lists that are on there for 15 years. And so one of the things that we tell parents as soon as that baby is born, whether you think you're going to need it or not, get on that list, because you never know how your circumstances, because people say, well, we're on private pay insurance, we're good. Well, you don't know when that private pay insurance might go away. So go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. It happens every day. And so going ahead and getting on those lists when the child is born, and that way, if it comes up and you don't need it, you can say, I don't need it, put me back at the bottom, and rotate through. So there are people who are on those lists for years.
So what is the list?
It's to get coverage, to be qualified to receive the coverage,
okay,
and to go through the application process.
And some, you could have a family on there for 15 years and they still don't get the coverage?
And some don't get the coverage.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
What do they have to prove?
You know what?
It's like, here's my child. Here's what our needs are. Here's what we can and can't do.
It's just an overburdened system.
Gotcha.
It's a government system that's got a lot of people asking for help and needing help and deserving help, and so it's just overburdened. Just like you hear about the foster care system, it's just an overburdened system.
It's just taxed.
Yeah.
There's just too much need, not enough help. And
yeah.
So are there lawyer groups, or are there other nonprofits that y'all are helping these families find that do just specifically this?
Yes, that is what we're doing. So monthly we have a program, it's called Speak.
Okay.
And so that is a monthly program just for parents and caregivers, and we try to cover topics that are important to them, like the medical coverage, the therapies, educational programming, what do we need to be doing to make sure my child's receiving the best education possible.
Wow. What about fun things?
Fun things. We do a lot of fun things.
Let's talk about fun things.
Yeah. We talked about Parents First Call. To me, that's a really fun program for our parents to be involved in, but we take it one step further and we do brunches for new parents so that they can meet other parents who are starting in the same phase. What we see in our program is there are little groups of people who've had their kids grow up together, and they're all learning as they go, and then these older parents are teaching the younger parents how to kind of navigate everything. So that's kind of fun to have those brunches quarterly and bring all those parents together. We do Teen Scene, which is probably one of my favorite programs. So it's all the teens that have Down syndrome, so 13 to 19-year-olds, and we get together monthly and do programs, and not just fun programs, but we try to add an educational component to it as well. So they're learning some independence while they're doing these fun activities. We do a Valentine's dance every year for them. We do swim parties, all sorts of fun stuff. And we also have a community give back portion of that program where we ask the people who are participating in Teen Scene to do community service projects with us. Okay. So we partner with some local churches to feed meals to the homeless, and we also volunteer quite frequently at North Texas Food Bank, because those are programs that are really easy and fun for them to do, and they can engage and interact with their peers while they do it.
And they can be a part, and they can make a difference. And the food bank always needs help.
Always needs help. We love it.
They have needs, and they probably love having you guys come and do all of volunteer and be a part of that.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the reaction of people, and that was kind of one of my goals when we started this program, was to get people with Down syndrome out in the community so people can see that they're just like us.
Absolutely.
They're, they can function at the same level we're functioning at, and they can, they can pay and they can order food, and people. It's surprising to me still how shocked people can be by their ability. So that's one of the reasons we did the community service program, because we will have people come up to us and go, I didn't know somebody with Down syndrome could serve food. Well, there you go. We just educated.
They're never around many Down syndrome people.
Yeah.
They have no idea what that's really like.
Yeah, and I think it gives people an opportunity to ask questions and understand. Because if you're not around people with Down syndrome, you don't have that comfort level. You don't know what to say. I think the fear is people never know what to say. I'm going to say something wrong. I'm going to embarrass myself, or I'm going to anger a parent. So just adding to that comfortability.
I was on your website and I saw the term self-advocacy.
Yeah.
And it looks like y'all have some individuals, probably children that are adults now, and they run the self-advocacy department.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's amazing.
Can
It's
you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's really one of my favorite programs. So a couple years ago, we decided to add to our board of directors a sub-board called our Self-Advocate Advisory Board.
Okay.
So this is made up of self-advocates who are individuals with Down syndrome who are 18 and older. So essentially, these are adults with Down syndrome. And so we really wanted to empower them to make sure that we are living out our we are living out our mission in the community, and that we're doing things that matter to them. So they meet monthly prior to our regular board meeting. There's 6 members on our self-advocate board right now. And so they meet and they plan our teen scene events. And they are, making decisions about that. And they are learning job skills at each one of our meetings. One meeting we did this year, we learned how to do a PowerPoint presentation. And then the next meeting, they all had to get up and do the presentation in front of everybody. And we gave feedback to how they were doing. So we're really just giving them kind of these life skills and job skills through being on that board. But they're also in the community representing us. Anytime I go speak, one of those self-advocates are with me, particularly Ethan, who works for us. He's often with me, but we're really trying to expand it to allow more people to have that opportunity. So he'll go out in the community and speak at events. They're at all of our community events that we host, and they're on stage and they're speaking and they have a role, and really they're acting. What we hear the most is that, parents with younger kids are like, that's going to be my kid someday. And so it's just
making a difference.
Yeah. And I think it's really showing these parents what the potential is, and that there's going to be opportunities for them to engage and empower and lead in our community.
It's amazing when you think about the history of special needs children and adults and the abilities, and how far our society has come from what things were for so long, and how they treated people with special needs, to now how you have people with special needs running companies, and speaking in front of other people, advocating for Down syndrome and running a board. I mean, if you think about the concept of that and how important and fascinating it is, at least we're doing some things right as a culture. We're finally broadening our thought processes and figuring out the potential for what people can do if just given the chance.
Yeah, and that is it, just given the chance. Ethan, who's worked for us for about 2 years, he's 23, and when he was born, his mom was one of those parents that the doctor came in and said, here's the forms for you to sign him over to an institution. He's never going to be anything. He's never going to succeed or have anything. And this is somebody who graduated from Mansfield High School, and he's working with us now. He was homecoming king. He's a member of the Knights of Columbus. I mean, he's living the life. I kind of want Ethan's life a little bit. He's a superstar. I have to call him Awesome Ethan when we're out in public.
He sounds like a rock star.
He is a rock star, and watching him thrive in his role has just been one of the greatest things that I've ever gotten to sit back and watch, is just him growing in confidence and his ability. And, I sit down with him just like I do Heather. We have evaluations. We have areas of growth. And it's not always easy for him to take the criticism, but that's life. When you have a job, you learn the good and you learn the bad, and you learn how to grow. So it's been good watching that. And the person who had the position before him is now at Texas A&M going to college, and watching her thrive and succeed.
Wow.
It's just amazing.
As you are on a daily basis, and you're going through these processes with these children and teens, what kind of needs? People come to Giving Is Good to figure out who they want to get involved with, who they want to give to. Can you speak a little bit about the needs as an executive director? Your job, besides vision, and I'm speaking in a conceptual form. Sure. All executive directors, they've got to drive the vision, they have to run everything, and they have to figure out how to get more money and volunteers. And can you speak about the needs of what you guys are looking for on an annual basis, and talk about a little bit about what the future holds for y'all. That way people can go, okay, hey, you know what, I could do that, maybe I could give that.
Yeah.
We want to help people identify with where you're going so that they can figure out if they can be a part.
I think the biggest struggle with our organization is that we've always looked internally for growth. We have looked to our families, the families that have someone with Down syndrome, to help us raise the money and to help us keep the programs going. And I think our biggest struggle as an organization is looking outward now, is we need the entire community to get behind and understand why it's important for these individuals with Down syndrome to have the same opportunities that their children do. So I think as an organization, it's getting people that don't necessarily have a tie to Down syndrome to understand why it should be important, and understand why it matters, and understand why every one of their lives matter, and that the barriers and hurdles that they have to overcome as someone with Down syndrome, it deserves having, you know, the backing of our entire community, and not just because you have a tie to it. So as an organization and as an executive director, we are trying to create programs that are not only supported by people with Down syndrome, but people who don't have that tie. We have a walk that we've been doing for, I think, about 12 years, a Step Up for Down Syndrome walk. We do it every October for October's Down Syndrome Awareness Month. And we do that walk, and last year we've noticed these are just our families. So it's an awareness event, but we're preaching to the choir a little bit.
How do you make it bigger?
How do we make it bigger? So we added a 5K to it last year because we knew, you know, there's people that run for fun. I don't know any of them. I'm not one of those people.
I'm not one either.
But there are people that run for fun and will run in a 5K regardless of what that 5K means. And so getting those people there and having our self-advocates at the finish line passing out the medals and cheering them on and meeting them and greeting them, that made a difference. And I hope that we see that growth continue outside of our community.
And it helped raise funds.
It did help raise funds,
Right.
yeah. It was one of our highest grossing walks we've had.
Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
Do y'all operate a center, an office? Or y'all a small office that people just come to?
Squeeze in.
Yeah, what's y'all's setup?
Well, that's kind of my vision for the agency, is to have a center that has all the therapies that a family would need located. So we would employ an occupational therapist and a physical therapist and a speech therapist, and we would have counselors for families and siblings too. For siblings who grow up with a child with special needs, there's that overshadow, and we see it a lot, and they have a lot of sibling programs. So I would love to see a center that just contained all of that, and including an opportunity for, a basketball court or, whatever was, to have those activities on site. But right now we're just in a really small office. There's, two of us, and then Ethan's there part-time. So we just have that really small office right now.
Okay. And families are coming in, or they're being referred to y'all.
Yeah.
And then you're connecting them. You're the conduit for their family and their future with their child or children.
We hope to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, sounds like one need, besides money. Money is always a big issue whenever you're operating a nonprofit, charity, ministry, org. Everybody thinks of nonprofits in a bunch of different ways, or they call them a bunch of different things, right? But really, they're companies that take money to run. You just don't make any money with them.
No.
Right? So, I'll surmise maybe some needs. Sounds like in the future there is a vision of a Down syndrome partnership of North Texas Center. Yeah. So for all we know, a very generous donor could watch this one day and go, you know what? My grandchild or my child has Down syndrome, and I want to be that person. I want to be the one that provides that. Right. I do believe in miracles. So
that would be amazing.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I don't limit what people can do or would do when it comes to giving, just because I'm seeing some pretty amazing stuff. Yeah. So we'll put some needs out there. Kim, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. I appreciate the fact of what you guys do, just because I do know families with Down syndrome children, and I have heard about some of the struggles. I hear about the good things. You don't necessarily so much hear about the bad things, but I do hear a
Sure.
lot about the good things. So I know for some families, you know, there's of course there's both sides,
Yeah.
you know. But thank you for the education and the awareness, and that if anybody has a heart for Down syndrome children and you want to get involved, please reach out to Kim. Her information, the website will be directly below our video interviews, and you will be able to go directly to them, and she would love to talk to you. All right?
Thanks for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you so
what
much.
you do.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
And cut. And scene.
Singing? We're going to sing?
Scene.